Paris, Emmanuel Macron has promised a new wave of tax cuts for France's middle classes, as he seeks to placate yellow vest protesters and reinvigorate his flagging presidency. After almost 6 months of often violent demonstrations, this was meant to be the moment when the 41-year-old leader would show he had heard the grievances and had a solution. Reporters raised their hands at French President Emmanuel Macron's news conference at the Élysée Palace on Thursday. Credit Apart he offered was a mixture of defiance, digging in on his pro-business overhauls, and some "I've learned a lot" soul-searching that early polling shows has failed to move voters. "I have felt in my bones what French people are going through and I want to provide an answer," Macron said. The art of being French is being rooted and universal, attached to history and origins but embracing the future. Advertisement was a highly choreographed affair, a news conference stretching over 2 hours in a gilded hall at the Élysée Palace. The event had been postponed by Notre Dame Cathedral fire that brought the nation briefly together. Yet the culmination of the national debate, as he dubbed his 2-month engagement with citizens around the country, seemed to offer little that was exciting or surprising to them. Voters were disappointed by the package, with 63% of respondents saying they were unconvinced in a poll by Harris Interactive and Agence Epoca. Protesters shout slogans in front of a barricade on fire during a Yellow Vests demonstration in Paris last month. Credit on offer there was another €5 billion $7.9 billion of cuts to income tax, and Macron said he would peg any state pensions under €2,000 a month to the rate of inflation from 2020. The measures would be paid for by closing tax breaks for companies and incentives for people to work for longer. Macron dug in by not retracting painful reforms, but he pledged to do more to make his agenda more human and do a better job of protecting French citizens from globalization. The tax announcements, the most novel aspect of the package, mark a further shift in favor of consumers over businesses. Other announcements ranged from promises to revamp the mechanics of the French state, to reforms of education. He even said he'd scrap the elite school ENA, his alma mater, in order to make the upper echelons of the French system more accessible. The Strasbourg campus of the École Nationale d'Administration, the ENA, Emmanuel Macron's alma mater. The École Nationale d'Administration has for decades churned out presidents, ambassadors and industry leaders, but Macron said he would abolish what has become a symbol of inequality in his drive for a fairer society. This is not about saying the ENA is a bad thing, quite the contrary. This is about ambitious reform. We need to build something that works better, he said. He said France needed to change the way senior civil servants were recruited, trained and their careers managed. The growing tendency for énarques, as graduates of ENA are known, to move back and forth between the public and private sector has only deepened the public perception of a distant, incestuous old boys network. The ENA has come to symbolize exactly that which so many French people loathe: elitism. Alan Clarsfield, a professor at the Toulouse Business School, wrote in a column in Le Monde. Nicolas Sarkozy tried to modernize the ENA during his tenure and failed. Almost 2 years after coming to power, Macron's promise of deep reforms to jolt the economy and labor market have collided with the protests of the Yellow Vest movement. They began with opposition to petrol taxes before morphing into a general unrest over purchasing power and Macron's governing style. Asked how far abolishing the school would appease Yellow Vest protesters, historian Marc-Olivier Barraud, a ENA graduate nearly 40 years ago, said, "They won't give a damn." The president dodged the question of whether he would run for re-election in 2022, saying he furiously and passionately focused on making his first time a success. Other key measures announced include no closures of schools or hospitals without the agreement of local mayors, and smaller primary school class sizes and provisions to make the teaching profession more attractive. Bloomberg, Reuters most viewed in world. It's block ads. Why?